More details about a government plan to review public sector medical service fees. Cathay Pacific says it's completed the flight consolidation schedules for January and February. And the top U.S. diplomat calls on Israel to make some hard choices for post-war Gaza. Hello and welcome to TVB News. In an interview with TVB News, Secretary for Health Lo Chung-mau suggested raising fees for accident and emergency services to prevent the system from being abused. Lo also revealed he will review the fees for general outpatient clinics as well and ensure they are genuinely helping those in need. Timothy Lee has our top story.
The government is currently conducting a review of fees at public hospitals, including those at the Accident and Emergency Department. The charge for A&E services may rise from the current $180 to figures similar to that of family doctors for less serious cases, while those in critical condition may be charged less.
面對住我哋而家個醫療人手。
This, as Secretary for Health Lo Chung-mau emphasized that the A&E department does not have patient quotas nor require registration, and that an increase in fees will help ensure the proper use of resources. Lo added that given tight manpower in the department, those who abuse A&E services to treat minor problems could turn them into just another general outpatient clinic. He does not want A&E departments to become such clinics. The health chief said he will also review fees for other public hospital services, stressing that general outpatient clinics need to change so that they are genuinely helping those in need in the community. Meanwhile, a nurses' union feared the fee adjustment scheme will increase tension between nurses and doctors as well as patients.
Many of the patients, of course, in the angle of the patients, they are always say that I am more urgent than the others. They always want to attend the doctor in the priority. We think that to adjust the payment to attend A&E will increase the pressure of the nurses, because we can foresee that there will be more conflicts between the medical staff and the nurses. We don't want the citizens to have an idea that if I pay more for attending A&E, then they will be misunderstanding that they will be seen by the doctors in a shorter time.
So said she still supported the fee adjustment, but said she hopes health authorities will clarify their triage guidelines. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
On the 9th day of former media tycoon Jimmy Lai's national security trial, the prosecution read out written evidence submitted by the police. Lai earlier pleaded not guilty to 1 count of sedition and 2 charges related to the national security law. Mimo Singhai reports.
A heavy police presence outside West Kowloon Law Court today as the high-profile trial of Jimmy Lai entered its 9th day. The prosecution first read out the written evidence submitted by the police, which was related to the financial investigation. The court was told that Lai had 3 bank accounts, 2 at HSBC and 1 at Standard Chartered Bank. Between 2013 and 2020, Lai transferred $181 million to his assistant Mark Simon. Over half of the sum was later transferred to the local pro-democracy camp. For instance, the Civic Party received $22,000 in 2014, and the Democratic Party received $3 million in 2016. Colonel Joseph Tan-Yak-Kwan also received $3.5 million. The investigation also focused on the financial relationship between Lai and his associates, such as Andy Lee, a member of the SWHK group. Police said Lee had 6 foreign currency bank accounts. After several rounds of crowdfunding starting from June 2019, Lee received multiple donations, including $6.15 million from a U.S. company. In November 2019, Lai's assistant Mark Simon also transferred $500,000 to Lee. Lee paid over $9.8 million to 20 local and overseas media outlets for international propaganda. The prosecution also played a series of recorded confessions of Lai made in front of the police after he was arrested. In those recordings, police showed Lai multiple news articles from Apple Daily and overseas media. Some of Lai's Twitter posts were also presented to him. Lai admitted he owned the Twitter account and he was the interviewee in those foreign media news articles. But when police asked him about the details of those interviews, the former media tycoon often replied, "I don't know, and I don't have anything to say." The trial has been adjourned until next Tuesday. News 9, TVB News.
At West Kowloon Magistrates Court today, a man was sentenced to 3 months in prison for wearing a T-shirt with the Liberate Hong Kong slogan printed on it at the airport last year. The 26-year-old defendant had earlier pleaded guilty to 2 sedition charges. Chu Kai-pong was caught wearing clothing with a slogan on it while he was preparing to depart for Taiwan on November 27th last year. National Security Police searched his bag and found flags and T-shirts printed with similar slogans. Chief Magistrate Victor So said Chu's brazen act of wearing such clothing in public was more serious than spreading seditious messages online. Following days of heavy flight cancellations, Cathay Pacific Airways today admitted it had underestimated the number of pilots required over the Christmas and New Year holidays. The comment came after the chief executive, John Lee, said yesterday that he was highly concerned about the cancellations. Mimo Singhai reports.
Cathay Pacific Airways said today they have consolidated their flight schedule for the next few weeks, and it includes cancelling an average of 12 flights a day in January and February. The city's flagship carrier today admitted the company had underestimated the number of pilots needed in reserve over the Christmas and New Year period. The company said the January pilot rosters were made in December, leading to insufficient manpower heading into this month. Meanwhile, the airline also said recent service disruptions do not meet standards expected by customers and the company. A task force will be established to investigate the matter and follow up on the issues, which will involve both the heads of operation and aviation service. Lawmaker Gary Chan, who is the chairman of the DAB party, was among the passengers affected by the flight cancellations. He said the airline should make public its investigation, adding the flight cancellations have affected Hong Kong's international image. A pilot association said the airline has been using fuel-saving Airbuses in their operations after the pandemic. News 9, TVB News.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has called on Israel to make some hard choices for post-war Gaza. Blinken met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant after meetings in Jordan, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. He said the Arab countries were willing to integrate Israel into the region in tandem with an independent Palestinian state. More than 23,200 Palestinians have so far been killed in the war, triggered on October 7th after Hamas raided Israel, resulting in 1,200 deaths and 240 hostages being taken. Nazvi Karim with more.
As Antony Blinken sat with Israeli leaders in Tel Aviv, he had the basic framework of a post-war peace plan worked out. A plan that neighboring Arab countries were buying into that would involve Israel's integration into the Middle East. Blinken hinted that the ball is very much now in Israel's court, the key sticking point being the establishment of a recognized Palestinian state, something hardline Israelis in the current government oppose.
As I told the Prime Minister, every partner that I met on this trip said that they're ready to support a lasting solution that ends the long-running cycle of violence and ensures Israel's security. But they underscored that this can only come through a regional approach that includes a pathway to a Palestinian state. These goals are attainable, but only if they're pursued together. To make this possible, Israel must be a partner to Palestinian leaders who are willing to lead their people in living side by side in peace with Israel as neighbors. And Israel must stop taking steps that undercut Palestinians' ability to govern themselves effectively.
Blinken reiterated U.S. demands to Israel that it limits civilian losses in its bombardment of Gaza. But the death toll continues to rise, with Gaza health officials saying 122 Palestinians were killed over the previous 24 hours. It includes the mother, 3 daughters and 3 grandchildren of a well-known Gaza dentist, Jamal Naeem, seen carrying the remains of one of his adult daughters, whose house was bombed in the central region of Deir al-Balah. On the front lines, Israel's military, the IDF, said they lost 9 soldiers, 6 of them engineers killed during an explosion in a Hamas tunnel. It said almost 190 IDF soldiers have been killed in the ground war so far, as Israel cuts down on operations in the north and focuses on central and southern Gaza. On Israel's northern border with Lebanon, an IDF strike killed at least 4 members of the Hezbollah group. This after the Iran-backed militia hit an Israeli base with drones in retaliation to the killing of Hezbollah commander Wissam al-Tawil, whose funeral was held on Tuesday. Meanwhile, at the United Nations, the US was asked to explain why it vetoed a resolution last month that would have called for a humanitarian ceasefire. US envoy Robert Wood defended the veto, saying it was striking that those urging an end to the conflict have made very few demands of Hamas. China's envoy Geng Shuang expressed the country's disappointment and regret over the US veto. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
The White House Chief of Staff has ordered cabinet members or secretaries to notify his office if they can't perform their duties. This as the Biden administration launches a policy review after the belated discovery of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austins' hospitalization. Now, it's been revealed that Austin's secretive hospitalization was for prostate cancer surgery and later to treat a urinary tract infection related to that operation. More from NBC News.
Tonight, the mystery surrounding Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin's secretive hospitalization revealed he was being treated for prostate cancer. His doctors say he was diagnosed in early December, but defense officials say he hid the illness from top Pentagon officials and even the president.
Nobody at the White House knew that Secretary Austin had prostate cancer until this morning.
A statement from Walter Reed saying his surgical procedure on December 22nd was to treat and cure prostate cancer. They say he was under general anesthesia but released the next morning. But on Monday, January 1st, Austin was rushed back to Walter Reed via ambulance with severe pain, suffering from an infection and fluid buildup that was impairing his small intestine. On Tuesday, January 2nd, Austin was admitted to the intensive care unit and transferred some authorities to his deputy, Kathleen Hicks, while she was on vacation in Puerto Rico. But Hicks and the White House were not told he was in the ICU until Thursday, January 4th. Members of Congress, senior Pentagon leaders, and the public were not informed until the night of Friday, January 5th.
This guy shouldn't be in charge of our military now.
Well, I'm going to continue calling for full disclosure. I'm calling for a full hearing.
The Pentagon now reviewing who knew what, when, and why the White House wasn't told.
Clearly, we could have done better, and we will do better.
Austin's chief of staff now ordering that these officials be told when Austin transfers authority to Hicks and why. Austin remains hospitalized tonight, having now spent all of 2024 in the hospital. Doctors there saying he's expected to make a full recovery, but it can be a slow process.
Staying in the U.S., space agency NASA has added more delays to its Artemis moon program, scheduling 2026 for its first astronaut lunar landing in half a century. This comes as spacecraft from Elon Musk's SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, and other contractors face development challenges. NASA had planned to send 4 astronauts around the moon late this year, but pushed the flight to September 2025 because of safety and technical issues. The first human moon landing in more than 50 years also got bumped from 2025 to September 2026. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson noted the delays will provide Artemis teams with more time to work through challenges. NASA is relying heavily on private companies for its Artemis moon landing program for astronauts. SpaceX's Starship Mega rocket will be needed to get the first Artemis moonwalkers from lunar orbit down to the surface and back up. However, the nearly 121-meter rocket has launched from Texas only twice, exploding both times over the Gulf of Mexico. Still ahead, President Xi Jinping meets the new leader of the Maldives in Beijing. South Korean's opposition leader released from hospital after being stabbed on the campaign trail last week. Welcome back to TVB News. Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu arrived in Beijing today as he continued his first state visit to a foreign country since he took office in November last year. He held formal talks with President Xi Jinping in the capital, during which Xi pledged to push bilateral ties to a new level. The visit comes with tensions between the Maldives and India on the rise. Daniel Rao reports.
Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu has said he intends to promote economic, trade, tourism, investment and cultural cooperation with China during his state visit. He told Xinhua News that China is and will continue to be a key partner in the social and economic development of the Maldives. Muizzu added that the Maldives-China relationship is based on mutual respect, mutual trust and non-interference in each other's internal affairs, which are key international principles on which the global economic and political order is built and sustained. Muizzu said projects under the Belt and Road Initiative are vital to transforming his country's economic development. Muizzu met with President Xi Jinping in Beijing today. Xi told Muizzu that China is willing to make new plans to develop bilateral ties with the Maldives and push bilateral ties to a new level. Infrastructure and tourism deals are expected to be signed during his state visit. Muizzu's trip comes amid rising tensions between the Maldives and India. Muizzu became president of the Indian Ocean nation in November after winning on his India Out campaign platform. He called New Delhi's huge influence a threat to sovereignty and snubbed India as the destination for his first state visit. His government has since asked dozens of locally based Indian military personnel to leave. However, on Sunday, the Maldivian president suspended 3 of his deputy ministers for posting derogatory comments against India. The 3 were responding to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's post on his official X account, promoting the pristine beaches of India's Lakshadweep archipelago for Indian travellers. Lakshadweep is off the southwestern coast of the Indian mainland and is similar to the Maldives. Danaral TV News.
A South Korean opposition leader who was stabbed on the campaign trail was released from hospital today. Lee Jae-myung was stabbed in the neck last week in the southeastern city of Busan. Lee, leader of the main opposition Democratic Party, said he hoped his ordeal would end politics of hatred in the country. "I feel sorry for causing concerns for you, and I'd like to thank you. Our people saved me," Lee said as he left the Seoul National University Hospital. Lee, who underwent surgery to close a cut on his jugular vein, said he wants to return to politics of mutual respect. The January 2nd attack was condemned by all in South Korea, including President Yoon Suk-yeol. Busan police said the suspect wanted to prevent Lee, who faces corruption allegations, and his party from winning the election. Lee denies the allegations. Following the resignation of Chinese University President Rocky Tuan, several lawmakers who are also members of the university's council stressed adjustments made to the school's style of governance do not target individuals. And they said they respect Tuan's decision. Tan Ka-poi, Tommy Chung, and Lau Kwok-fan today thanked Tuan's leadership and years of service at the university. Regarding criticisms against Tuan's perceived support for student protesters during the 2019 social unrest, Chung said Tuan's departure is unrelated to such criticisms, stressing that he had resigned of his own accord. The University Council said the process of hiring a new president will take about 6 to 9 months. The city is continuing to lose teachers. More than 6,700 teachers left primary and secondary schools, kindergartens, and special needs schools in the last school year. That's a rise of 25% over the previous year. The loss of teachers was most evident in kindergartens, which saw 19% of teachers with fewer than 10 years experience leaving. 8.5% of teachers left public primary schools, and 9.8% left public secondary schools. Secretary for Education Christine Choi said authorities have created a stable environment and improved career prospects for teachers in recent years. But she added as the number of students drops, the demand for teachers will also decline. That is the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.